Chilly here with Sirius Talisman. This is Mercury, our soul day. Enemy heaven is on my lot of divination 29 degrees Scorpio, ascendant 14 degrees Aquarius. Moon is separating from a conjunction to Rahu. And let me talk about a couple of things. First of all, one of the things I was thinking about as I was looking for ethical minerals is the mercury problem with mining gold. And for me, it's like gold is Leo, which is the sun, and Virgo is the sifting and sorting. It's basically a chemical sign, medical sign, but basically when we are processing the gold, basically, which is the Virgo process, the residue is mercury, and then Libra is copper, um, Scorpio and Aries is iron, Sagittarius and Pisces probably would be tin, Saturn is minerals and rocks, so Capricorn, Aquarius, Venus is ruling copper. So this is where I'm wondering about the connection between the zodiac and minerals. But this was a certain process, the process of the creation of minerals. So one thing I definitely want to study live with you is the creation of minerals. I looked at the creation of rocks, and now metals, rare earth minerals and metals is something I definitely need to study further. For the people who are targeted individuals, I had a conversation with a person who is retired police commander of the entire South region, and basically what he told me is like that. Each commander in the army, not in the army, in the police, is basically having 2-3 years where they have to keep the peace. And it was so much so that once we had a case where 14 years old children kidnapped police commander, chief officer, whatever you call it, and they asked for ransom. And believe it or not, they got they got ransom. So that was interesting, and the fact that the police is pretty much scared of like the crime stuff. But also, I asked him about targeted individuals, and he tells me that the people who do the witchcraft, um, he said women, but I believe it's also warlocks. Um, they said they are getting a lot of money to do that. A lot of money to do that. He says it's difficult to prove that, and he just did not know what to do about these things now. Actually, I ran into one of those ladies that actually did probably witchcraft on me, and I know that she was my ex-neighbor. She used to work in the municipality of health. Yes, what can I do? And and then she switched lines when money played a role, probably. So much so that eventually, when I would work with Dana Balgiri, I met her again, and she was trying to do a humiliation ritual. And then we talked about the witchcraft stuff, and I said to her, listen, she offered me, why don't you take a witch with powers to negate for basically the astral rape, any attempts to do trafficking. And I said to her, listen, there are rules in these things. I only do back to sender. Only back to sender. If more humane, then this. but I never, not going to court, because she offered me to curse. He said, when I curse, it happens. I said, no, no, no. I only do back to sender. I don't curse. And then she vanished from the earth. She was never seen again. She invited me, come sit with us and so on. I said, you know what, let's see. Come to sit with them. They have vanished. The next day, vanished. She was no longer in the vicinity of me. I said that this thing could happen when we work with Dana Balgadi. And that was basically a person that she was actually, other than doing those business, she was actually kind of the person that will help but when money spoke, then she listened to money, even on the account of women being trafficked. Then yes, there are such women as well. So what happens in such a case? The witch, usually, to be very honest, she will take kind of like the verdict of, the backlash of what she's done. That normally happens. But the person that paid her money, if the witch was supposed to target, let's say, somebody, it's energy. Energy can be transmuted. Okay, energy doesn't go away. It's transmuted. Either we send it back, we send it to be transmuted in the soil. Anybody who did martial arts knows the goal is to have to bring the energy back to balance. Because when energy is in harmony, people don't fight. This is also why we don't rape, because what happens with rape? Now, what will happen with the energy is that for the person, if they really did nothing, and for most people, they wouldn't go to chorus or something like that. They would say, okay, how do I stop this? And they would go online, and they would go this, and they would go that, and find a way to stop this, which would either send the energy back to sender. And they said back to known and unknown sender. Actually, when I watched tarot reading, one of the ladies says, but this magic backfire, back to sender times 10 for known and unknown. And I'm like, okay, this is how you do back to sender. And I added, if more humane than this, because I don't send rape back. Never. I would never consciously or of my volition send rape back. I did run into cases where people, let's just say, if they wanted to rape me, then they got for the arrows that they sent. And I said, well, I prefer to make it accessible for the person to have assisted death or something. Yes, then it's magic. It's it works by energy rules. So, what would happen to the person that paid money to harm somebody else? This is worse, because they were basically, what is paying money? They were putting energy to enslave another person, basically to enslave the witch, to harm somebody else. And this is a series of felonies which accumulated a big trajectory of energy. Normally, they would get back for the energy, the bad energy that they sent. Also, financial loss, because they invested money. Okay, if you pay money for which, now think about the governments that do that. United States did that to its citizens. United States today is a third world country. Africans are running away from United States back to Africa. And Africa is in one gigantic megalithic civil war state. So is United States, it's true. But United States today is a third world country. Why? Because United States participated in targeting its citizens. Think about the energy companies, oil companies. And oil companies can transmute the energy. Okay? So I'm not worried about Rockefeller, let's say, listening to this because they're smart. They know that they did something with the energy. All they need to do is to transmute it. This is Pluto. They did work with Pluto is oil. Now, just like they did a charity, they can transmute, and instead of doing ritual abuse, to transmute the energy to do good things. And what they need to understand is that they are no longer the Aries, because Aries is included. And so to create chaos and benefit from chaos is working for the ones that were disincluded, not the ones that rule the world. And this is my my understanding of Aries. The only way in which people were disincluded is that they were cloned and went to ritual abuse. But to transmute the energy, if they listen to ritual abuse survivors, they will see exactly what is needed to do. To point the arrows of aggression at the aggressor, and but the question of energy and resources, then solar energy is more sovereign. Also, monarchies are doing that process, and this is why the old habits of the monarchies are being exposed, because it's a transmutation. Oil, nobody wants to trade oil anymore because people prefer solar energy, wind energy, but when the solar and wind energy are done still with global control and surveillance, just today I saw a family lost their dog, beautiful dog, Panda, and somebody stole the dog. Now, if they would steal the dog, they would ask for ransom. And I know such cases that people ask for ransom. Mostly for the people, if they are able to pay, they pay the ransom and they take the dog. In fact, one time I met a girl like this. She just took back her little white Pomeranian from people that stole the dog in Ekveld, paid the money, went back and went back with the dog. But if the family cannot pay for ransom, then that can be. They have to. I guess if you are not a wealthy family, don't buy Pomeranian. Make sure you can pay not just for the vet, but also for the ransom. But didn't ask for ransom, which means that the dog was taken either to ritual abuse or to prevent the family from protecting their property. There's a partner, is not mentioned. But in that case, all the companies that do surveillance technologies, whether satellite, technology surveillance, the cameras in the street, they know who took Panda. Now, not only that, it is impossible to target individuals without either getting caught by this technology, even in the astral. The phone recognizes the consciousness, it reads the thoughts. And so, because it reads thoughts, it's a frequency, it's an electric frequency. Then, if there's another consciousness with the person, which is necessary when they do psychic stalking, then the phone would identify this and you will see it in the screen. Your attacker would think about something or would try to even astrally rape you and would see the symbols for to do with rapes or grapes. Actually, several times it happened to me. It was an attempt to astrally rape me, and then I opened the phone, and the picture of the screensaver is of grapes. Um, and because there were no anomalies in that pattern, so I understand that happened several times. Then I saw that the phone is identifying the consciousness of the person who astrally projected to my field to try to rape me. Those things are made possible by prolonged torture. Okay, a normal person, if they do astral project from an embodied place, they would not seek to rape anyone. Only when person is tortured, they would do that. But everybody has right to defend themselves from rape, because otherwise we perpetuate the torture, and then the aggression we point back to the aggressor, so that person, instead of raping innocent people, they would go to take the aggression on those who actually harm them. And this is why we say known and unknown, because we don't just let's say you have a psychic attack and you're shown energy of someone. It may be them, it may be not them. Maybe that you are tortured, they are tortured, and another tortured party is taking their image to attack you. So this is why I always do back to sender, known and unknown, and I don't target people personally. Yes, only if I met this person in person and they threatened my life, like happened with a psychologist, or a person I said, what did that psychologist do to you? And he said, nothing. He said, that was you. And they know what they did, because I saw them going through something like a psychotic attack, a psychic attack, basically. Yes, and you know who suffers from this the most? Is our politicians and business people, the decision makers. They are the most suffering from this, and more susceptible to mind control. So we think about sovereignty, and we think about people giving their power to regimes. Then we understand that with the spirit of Pluto and Aquarius, giving our power to a regime has pitfalls, because they then yeah, it's not that they're not competent people, it's just that they're not really hurt people, and they are very hurt. So yeah. So what else is in the sky? Well, here is the thing. There are people who think they can enslave or control people using witchcraft. Now, the origin of witchcraft is for people that were enslaved to be free. This is also why I say about Eris. Eris creates chaos, but Eris created chaos because she was not invited to the party. There were resources, there was the table, and she was not invited to partake in the resources. It's not for people to try to create chaos when they are ruling the world and creating chaos to benefit from that. They will not benefit from that. The only way it works is if the people around are, it will work as long as the people around are this including people. But it will not work when the people around are not disinclusive. Okay, so every cycle, for example, what's happening right now in Israel and Palestine. Okay. If people get attached to their national feelings, they don't see the oil wars. And what happens? They begin to hate on one another, and basically, or even if they don't hate on one another, then they hate on the government, but they don't see the oil wars. This will work as long as people are not really seeing what's happening. Also in psychic attack, I deal with psychic attack and being targeted individual. And so, as I defend myself, I say, why was I psychically attacked? I'm like, oh, I'm targeted individual? What for? What did I do? I looked into, I basically made an actual contribution, which is antithetical to the cult of enslavement and attacking the light. And then when I think back, yes, I also spoke about solar energy in 2015. So then I begin to understand, so why is this happening? And not only that, I do astrology, but I don't do targeting individuals. And so, to be very honest, I think they didn't even try to recruit me to do that, because by the time they did astrology, it was very obvious that I'm not targeting individuals. There was one person, I think, was doing talismans, that thought that I would do that with talismans. But obviously, I disagree with that. And whatever they projected onto me, they're dealing with that. Yes, so, and because I don't do these things, then I was able to talk about charts that literally nobody talks about, because people either have to really compliment the person, and then maybe they would get money behind the back to target them, or they don't talk, or the silence. For me, there were certain charts that I did, and people were wondering if I will assist to cover up for some scandals to do with children. And I said the only thing I can do is to talk about the structure and what are the points of interference in the structure, and the fact that the politicians or the business people are also were also tortured. So we can address the issue and resolve the topic of children, and then not to target, not to have this play into the hands of extortion cults, but to actually change the reality of wealth consolidation by targeting children. Which of course created a lot of waves and a lot of worries and whatnot. Yeah. Now just think about all the money that the companies that do surveillance technologies, satellite, or companies, Palantir or Nvidia, and other companies, how much money they own the citizens for homes, for land, for bailing out people out of jail, because if a person cannot pay, if a person got into crime, because yes, even if a person is targeting me, for example, okay, then probably they got into crime, which is crime against humanity. It's a very serious crime to target the individual by being targeted themselves, and then basically, I don't know, thinking that this is the only venue for them to, I don't know, live in a house or whatnot. Then, in such case, for those people, if that person, when they dispose of them, and they dispose of them, gets in jail, then basically he will have no money to bail himself out. This happens to a guy that worked with Rockefeller. This, what was his name? This was the name Algerhis. He worked with the Rockefellers, but when they disposed of him, all of his money, and you understand he had some money, was not enough to bail him out. So such companies that do surveillance technology, they need to be able to bail out for the people in jail and give them homes, uh, separated from the people that they targeted, of course, uh, because they can rehabilitate people. But basically, what they do this for is, it's not, eventually it's for the money, but it's not for the money. It's because they are harming their ability to make an income in a way that is fair, and in a way that they would actually have housing, security, and so on. And then they come to believe that the only way to survive in the world is to do these crimes. And so this serves the interest of the surveillance companies, and they are basically performing crimes against humanity, and they are making money for that. So they are the ones that need to pay the compensations. There's a lot of people, a lot of homes. Now, if they make illegal laws, for example, in the United States, they make illegal law that homeless is illegal. Illegal laws is a law that one has a Pflicht, one has must disobey. Now, if a person cannot disobey, basically the ones that made those illegal laws are performing crimes against humanity, and they will be disposed of. People that go against ritual abuse, like Alandra, have the key through their stories to provide the legal protection for people that don't go with those enslaving agendas, but they have to really get rid of any toxic belief of enslaving people. If this is programming, then they might want to think about even a point of awareness, how much of their beliefs are actually programming. Whether it's against women, against other races or cultures, because we can be against, let's say, child marriage. This means that everywhere we see child marriage, they'll say this is wrong. Whether it's Mormon, whether it's Islam, whether it's Opus Dei. And this is important. So in that regard, Aries, the people that make the mess of Aries, the chaos of Aries, it is successful, but only when the people have programmed, when they're programmed to basically be disinclusive. But those that program them on purpose to be disinclusive. Um, this through torture. Okay, it's not uh, it's not just the usual brainwash. It's they do that through torture and basically create these beliefs that go against for the individual. Um, so those people that do such things, um, yes, eventually they have to deal with what they do. Um, but the importance is that us as humanity will know that those things are done to people. Because if we have a point of awareness, we are basically summoning points of interference. And in that way, we can be more humane without giving up our humanity.